Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. I'm so sorry that I didn't get to review anything today. I've been having basically, I've just been unmotivated to make videos for June 9th, of course, even though I wanted to. I just needed a break from YouTube for like a good day. But I wanted to return to you for this KK's Priest final album in their for not final album, but it's their most recent record, The Sinner Rides Again. Sorry, getting hiccups. So I'm going to discuss what I listened to for The Sinner Rides Again, the second studio album, their sophomore record, and let you know my thoughts on what I think of KK's Priest, The Sinner Rides Again. So let's dive into this album review. So basically, it starts with Sons of the Sentinel, which is a decent song. It's not anything mind blowing, but I think Tim Ripper Owens sounded alright in this track. Even though the screech singing kind of got on my nerves a little bit after a little bit of time. It's not terrible, but it just sounds similar to Judas Priest, and I know that's what they're going for, but it's just. Even the music video was shot terribly. I don't know, that's like a D-rated kind of music video. Excuse my yawning for a moment, but other than that, it's a 4 out of 5 for Sons of the Sentinel. The song's a little cheesy, and it's not terrible, but it's just decent at best. With how it sounds overall, it kind of is like up in your face with the cringy, rebellious kind of melody and all that, and the lyrics kind of get a little rebellious and just cringe from time to time. But other than that, the guitar work and drum work was pretty solid, but structurally, it's a decent song, 4 out of 5. Strike of the Viper is a good song for how it sounded. I did enjoy this one. Not one of my favorites, but it is a highlight for the record. One of the solid tracks I can get on board with, so 4.5 out of 5. Then Reap the Whirlwind is another decent track that I'm just on the fence with, but I don't hate it. It's got its issues, but it's nothing terrible in any way, so pretty much a 4 out of 5. The way Tim Ripper Owens is singing it from time to time, it does alright, but KK Downing's guitar solo moments are pretty solid for the most part. 4 out of 5. One More Shot at Glory is a decent one too. Not my favorite song on the record, but it's a decent track for how it sounds overall. It's just kind of edgy with the lyrics that come off as sus a little bit with how Tim Ripper Owens is singing it, but overall, I think structurally he sung it alright for the most part. So 4 out of 5. Hymn 66 is another decent one that I'm not really vibing with, but I don't hate it per se. I just think this one is kind of on the fence with me a little bit. Like, it was almost close to getting a mediocre score with how Tim Ripper Owens was singing it, but other than that, the drum work and guitar work is pretty solid, so 4 out of 5 for him, 66. Then we get The Sinner Rise Again, which is a little bit better of a track. I think this is probably their strongest track. It's another solid track for how it sounds. I think overall, excuse me yawning, I do gotta go to bed pretty soon. But overall, I think Tim Ripper Owens sung this pretty alright for the most part. And just the drum work and guitar work from KK Downing is pretty strong in its own way. So I do dig how this track is sounding overall, but it's where Tim Ripper Owens is singing it and some of his aggressive vocals do sound alright. So 4.5 out of 5. Keeper of the Graves is another decent track. Like I said, Keeper of the Graves. Decent song. Nothing that was mind blowing, but it was just fairly decent for how it was executing with the drum work and guitar work from KK Downing, and just overall Tim Rip Owens' singing is fairly decent. It's nothing to write home about, but it's just something that you can listen to and be like, at least it doesn't suck. So, 4 out of 5. Pledge Your Souls is the second to last track before you get to the closing track on the record, but I think it's a above decent kind of track. I think Tim Ripper Owens sung this alright, but did have some, cringy moments during this track. And I'm so sorry for yawning quite a bit in this review during this album review that I'm doing for you guys tonight. There's been a lot that's been going on lately, which you kind of already know, but I'm not going to reveal anymore. I'm just trying to move forward with my channel, and that's what I want to do. But other than that, it's a 4.25 out of 5 for Pledge Your Souls. It's a above decent track. It just doesn't really resemble a lot of great material, but it's just in its own way. And I think Tim Rip Owens' singing and KK Downing's guitar solos are fairly solid. Then we get the closing track, Wash Away Your Sins, which is a 6.5 minute song, which actually wasn't a bad song to close out the record. The fade out at the end of it was pretty interesting, of a fade for the closing gap of the track. But overall, I think Tim Rip Owens sung it pretty fairly good in its own way. But KK Downing's guitar solo work is pretty strong. So I really did enjoy the last track on the record. It's a 4.5 out of 5. It's still solid. It's not anything mind-blowing, but you're in for something interesting. So pretty much overall, would I say KK's Priest, The Sinner Rides Again is a good follow-up? It's not a good follow-up, but it's a decent follow-up from the last record, Sermons of the Sinner, which was a very meh record. I thought I was going to hate that record, and I came close to almost hating that record, but overall, I think it's a decent effort, this one. It's a little bit better. It's a step in the right direction with what they were going for with this one. I think it's decent material, this one, for the 40 minutes and about 40 and a half minutes of this record. You're in for a decent listen. Nothing mind-blowing, but nothing great. I can see why not a lot of people really wanted to review KK's Priest. I gave it a shot. I'm just not a huge fan. I think they're alright, but I just think they're kind of Judas Priest copycats, in my opinion. They sound like it. They sound like they're taking that kind of sound and using it for their own material, which I can understand why, because KK Downing and Tim Ripper Owens were originally in Judas Priest, but Tim Ripper Owens was only in for 2 albums of Judas Priest, Jugulator and Demolition. But overall, from what I listened to, and KK Downing was part of Judas Priest since the beginning, and then I guess he left the band. I don't even remember when he left the band. I'd have to look into the discography. But from what I listened to with KK's Priest, The Sinner Rides Again, if I were to give it a score, I'm feeling a light 7 out of 10. Decent record, not anything that I'm crazy about, but you get the gist where I'm coming from with how I feel about this record. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for KK's Priest, The Sinner Rides Again. I hope you enjoyed this KK's Priest, The Sinner Rides Again album review tonight. I will have the Judas Priest ranking from worst to best, but it might come out on Wednesday the 11th, and then I'll probably get to some Iron Maiden afterwards, because that's the next Marathon Studio albums I want to cover. But until then, I hope you enjoyed. this KK's Priest the Sinner Rise Again album review. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in my next review.